Hey, welcome to episode 3 of Extreme Reloading. You know, this season 7, we're working all on bullets. What is the effect of the variation of bullets on our precision and our consistency of our ammo? And in this episode, we're specifically looking at 224 bullets. To catch up on what we've been doing, you might want to take a look at our previous episode, but let me kind of lay it out for you right now. I'm going to be loading today these Barnes MatchBurners. These are sorted bullets of exactly 69.0 grains. And I'm going to be loading up a number of groups with this bullet using all Lake City sorted brass. And I'm also going to be intentionally loading some very inconsistent Barnes MatchBurners. Well, not terribly inconsistent because they don't get too inconsistent, but I'm still going to take advantage of the variability in these bullets. I'm going to be loading a group that's going to have a 68.7, 68.8, 68.9, 69, and 69.2 grain bullets. And I'm going to be shooting a couple of those groups as well. I'll be looking at the muzzle velocities and the consistency of those muzzle velocities. And to be honest with you, I really shouldn't see much difference in the muzzle velocities with that slight difference in the weight of those bullets. Of course, I could be wrong, but I'm not so sure, even if I am wrong, that it's going to be due to the bullet weight itself. What we should be able to see, though, is if there's something to this, we should see a difference in the size of the groups. And I don't know how that's all going to play out. This Barnes MatchBurner, by the way, shoots very, very well in both my IWI Tavor and my son's AR-15. Kind of an excellent bullet. So let me go ahead and get these things loaded up. Then we're going to head out to the range. By the way, I'm using Varget powder in these rounds, and those loads, those powder charges, are weighed exactly to 1/10 of a grain. And I'm also going to be using the Federal AR Match small rifle primers. These are really excellent primers when you're loading 224 and 5.56. And then, of course, as I already mentioned, I'm going to top them off with these Barnes bullets. Well, let me get busy on loading these rounds, and then we're going to head out. Upper right target. Center bullseye, I'm taking. A little bit to the right.
Lower left.
Lower left, uh-huh.
Yeah, fire.
Uh-huh. I kind of shot lousy. Normally, with that Tavor and that particular load, that particular bullet, the Barnes 69 grain MatchBurner, I'm normally shooting 1.5 MOA. That's kind of the par, or sometimes quite a bit better. This time, I shot 1.8 MOA with the weight sorted bullets and 1.83 MOA with the variable bullets. Now those two groups are, just about a bullet's width, a little bit more than that, different than one another. And statistically and even realistically, practically, they are the same. There's no difference in the group size between the consistent weight-sorted bullets and the variable bullets. The same story was not true for my son when he was firing the first and last groups that we fired on the range video. His first group again was the weight-sorted consistent bullets, and he brought in a 1.33 MOA 5-shot group. And then when he shot the variable bullets, he got a 1.96, quite a bit difference between those two group sizes. So does weight sorting of your bullets make a difference? Right now it's really hard to tell. In fact, based on this test, it's really a toss-up. Some of it could, based on these results, depend on the rifle, but I'm not sure of any of that. We're going to be doing another test. We need to do another test, and I was always planning to do more testing, but this time, or next time, we're going to be shooting the .308 Winchester in my Ruger precision rifle and using those Sierra tipped Match King bullets in a very similar test. I'll explain that test in our next episode. But back to these results. Let's look just for a little while at the muzzle velocities and the standard deviation of those muzzle velocities as recorded with the lab radar chronograph. The AR and the Tavor both have 18-inch barrels. The Tavor is a piston-driven system. AR is a direct gas impingement system. The AR, however, has a rifle-length gas tube, and that maybe makes more of a difference when we are talking about felt recoil, because that is such a pleasant gun to shoot. It's just a very, very pleasant gun to shoot, especially with that Wilson Combat TTU trigger that's in that gun. At any rate, shooting the weight-sorted consistent bullets gave a 2,681 feet per second average muzzle velocity in the AR and 2,684 feet per second from the Tavor. Now this is interesting. With the weight variable bullets, they both rifles shot a little bit faster, 2,690 with the AR and 2,692 with the Tavor. Note that both of those groups were fired after the weight-sorted consistent bullets. So perhaps a little bit of residual heat in the chamber, in the barrel, whatever, allowed those rounds to heat up just a little bit more, give me a little bit more velocity. I don't know if that's the case, but it is kind of interesting that both of them moved up just by a little bit, and they were both really very consistent out of the muzzle. Standard deviations, though, the AR was in the 20s, and the Tavor was down in single digits, 6.7, 6.8 feet per second with the weight consistent bullets, and still 8.6 feet per second with the variable bullets. Now, why is that? Why such a huge difference in the standard deviation of those muzzle velocities? I think I know why. And it is because that load, that particular load that I'm using with Varget powder, was developed with the Tavor rifle. And I oftentimes really like to use the optimal charge weight velocity node approach when I'm building new loads. So that load was not developed for the AR. This AR is a pretty new build, and so that certainly could explain why the standard deviations were so nice in the Tavor. But you know, I've also been alluding to the fact and talking about the fact that these rifles tend to shoot some of these 68, 69, 70 grain bullets very, very well, and some other bullets not so well. In fact, my par for those rifles, what I'm really looking for, I should say, is 1.5 MOA or less in my Tavor. You know, maybe that AR can do a little bit better. It's got a very nice ballistic advantage barrel on it, but I'm still going to be very, very happy if we're coming in at 1.5 MOA or less. So now looking at the groups that I have fired with these rifles, most of these groups are with the Tavor, but I have now, including the groups that I've just fired, I have now fired 14 groups with the Barnes 69 grain MatchBurner, and I'm still coming in with an average of 1.5 MOA. The best group that I fired was a 0.9 MOA with the Tavor. I have fired 5 groups with the Berger 70 grain bullet, and that one's not doing so well. It's shooting 2.2 MOA across those, as an average across those 5-shot groups. I've fired 6 groups with the Hornady 68 grain bullet, and that's coming in even worse, 2.7 MOA on average. You know, I had high hopes for the Lapua Skenner L. That's a 69 grain bullet, and oftentimes those Skenner Ls are phenomenally accurate and precise bullets. I've got 4 groups fired with that bullet and coming in at an average of 1.9 MOA. And then certainly last but not least again is the Nosler AccuBond 60 grain bullet. I've got 4 groups under my belt with that one, and it is averaging 0.9. It is a sub-MOA load in my Tavor rifle. In fact, it is this group right here, 100 yards, 5-shot group, 0.57 MOA. That's just a beautiful group right there, and that was shot with the Tavor. I guess the only problem with the Nosler AccuBond is right now they're pretty much impossible to find, and if you can find them whenever you can find them, they're a pretty expensive bullet. They're going to cost about 50 cents a bullet, and of course that's just the bullet without any powder and so on and so forth. So of course I haven't yet answered the question, does all the bullet sorting by weight and so on and so forth, does that even make a difference? Didn't intend to answer it after just one session. Once again, we've got another episode of Extreme Reloading coming up, and we're going to be shooting the .308 Winchester and see how that performs with a very similar test. Thanks for watching.